Hi. So here's what's up. I've had some questions recently from some students about scales and modes, and instead of going into the hard stuff, I thought I'd start right from the beginning, back to basics, and make sure that we don't miss anything on the way. I'm gonna do my best. If I miss anything out, let me know, and we'll go from there. We'll see what happens. So here's what we need to know. We need to know that there are 7 notes in the major scale. So the 7 notes in the major scale, each one of these notes has a chord and a mode attached to it. We're going to get into this in a bit. What you do need to know is that the 1 chord, the 4 chord, and the 5 chord are major chords. That's why they're capitalized. Okay? The 2 chord, the 3 chord, and the 6 chord are minor. And then this badger over here, he's a diminished chord. We're going to talk about that later too. So we need to talk about the relationship these notes have to each other. Okay? There is an interval between each of these notes. The interval is the distance between 2 notes. The interval is not the note itself. So we're going to have a series of whole steps and half steps between these 7 notes, and it's going to give us what we want, a major scale. Before we go that far, we're going to talk about what kind of intervals we can have. We're going to have whole steps and half steps. A whole step is 2 semitones, or 2 frets to us guitar players. A half step, singular. A half step is exactly what you think it is. It's just 1 semitone, or just 1 fret. Singular. There are 12 semitones in your octave, and we can demonstrate this now. So from C to C, we should find 12 notes. If my speakers will work. There we go. 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 1. 12 chromatic notes. And we're going to use 7 of them to get our major scale. So this is what you would call a chromatic scale. Right? It's all 12 notes in order. We want to get a major scale. So we're going to have to take some notes out and make sure the intervals between the notes that we keep are the right intervals. So here's what's what. The pattern goes like this. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Simple Simon. Whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. Right? Using this formula, we should be able to start anywhere on the piano, or guitar in our case, and we'll get a major scale every time. So if we look at the C major scale, we should have no sharps, no flats. We're going to go from C to D, because it's a whole step, which is 2 semitones. C, C sharp, D, right? Then we've got a whole step from D to E, right? It's 2 chromatic notes, 1, 2. We're at half step between 3 and 4. Right? A whole step between 4 and 5. There we go. A whole step between 5 and 6. A whole step between 6 and 7. And finally, a half step between 7 and 1. So as if by magic, we've got a major scale from using all the white notes on the piano. Yes, these are black and these are white, but just get over it. That's Korg's fault, not mine. So if we apply this formula to our guitar, we're going to get the same result, a major scale. So we're going to start with an open string here, and we're going to do a whole step, which is 2 frets, right? So the second note in the scale is going to be on the 2nd fret, just like that. We've got another whole step, so that's 4th fret. A half step goes to 5th, whole step, 7. A whole step is 9, a whole step is 11, and a half step is 12. That sounds about right, because we know we've got 12 chromatic notes in our octave. Let's try this out. So I'm going to use the open E string, and we're starting here. 2nd fret, 4th fret, 5th, 7, 9, 11, 12. In reverse. 9, 7, 5. Right. If you do it right, it should sound like Joy to the World in reverse. Okay, so we did it on the open string. Now we're going to just choose a fret. 4th fret sounds good. So we're starting on 4, and the same formula is going to apply. So we're going to go a whole step up from 4. Just 2 frets, and we'll come out at 6. We want another whole step, which is going to be 8th fret. A half step to 9. A whole step to 11. A whole step to 13. A whole step to 15, and then a whole step, and then a half step to 16. It sounds about right. 4 and 12 is 16. There should be 12 chromatic notes between here and here. So if we try this out on our guitar, I'm starting on the 4th fret on the low E string right here. And we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to go 4, 6, 8, 9, 11, 13, 15, 16. And if we do the same thing and play it in reverse, it should sound like Joy to the World. Easy. So then maybe the next thing we should talk about is the minor scale. Where does the minor scale come from? Well, the minor scale comes from the major scale. It's the same notes in the same order, but we're going to start in a different place. So to get a minor scale, instead of going from 1 to 1, we're going to go from 6 to 6. And we're going to get a minor scale. So we're going to go 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the intervals are going to correspond. So we're not going to go whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, because that's the major scale. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. We're going to go whole, half, whole, whole, half, whole, whole. Easy. So those 2 lines were a major scale, right? We're going to look at a minor scale now. We're going to do the same thing, and we're going to start on an open string. Open E, why not? The first interval we have is a whole step. So we're going to go from 6 to 7. It's 2 frets away. So open string, 2nd fret. From 7 to 1 is a half step. 3rd fret. From 1 to 2 is a whole step. 2 to 3 is a whole step. 3 to 4 is a half step. 4 to 5 is a whole step. 5 to 6 is a whole step. And that makes sense because 0 and 12, right? It's 12 chromatic notes. They should be right. So if we apply this to our guitar, it's going to sound something like this. Open E. 2nd fret. 3, 5, 7, 8, 10, 12. Sad, right? Minor scale. And we're going to do the same as we did on the major scale. So I've picked the 3rd fret. We're going to apply the same formula, and we're going to end up with another minor scale. So from 6 to 7 is a whole step, that's 2 frets. So we're going to go from 3 to 5 fret-wise. The next interval is a half step. From 1 to 2 is a whole step. From 2 to 3 is a whole step. From 3 to 4 is a half step. 4 to 5 is a whole step. 5 to 6 is a whole step. 3 and 12 is 15. That looks about right to me. So we're going to play this scale on our guitar. And we should get a minor scale, starting from the 3rd fret on the G, right? Here we go. 3, 5, 6, 8, 10, 11, 13, 15. Right? Minor scale. So when we're following the formula, it's going to work. You just need to know the formula. If you know how to work the major scale, whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, you can figure out how to do the minor scale. All you're going to do is come back 2 intervals. So you go whole, half, and then you go whole, whole, half, whole, whole. Easy. Alright. We're going to go one step further. And before we do, we need to understand the relationship between each string on our guitar. So as standard, our guitars are tuned like this. E, A, D, G, B, E. This is mainly in fourths, but there's a major third between these two strings. Let me explain what I just said. A fourth interval is the same as 5 frets. Okay? Which means there should be 5 frets difference between this note and this note. So if we just look at our piano for a second, we're going to use the E. So if we go up 5 chromatic notes, we should land on A. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4. Perfect. E to A. That interval is a fourth. 5 chromatic notes. So the interval between the E and the A string is a fourth, which is 5 frets. Don't forget. Between A and D, let's figure it out. So we've got A here. And we're going to go up to D, which is here. So the difference between them should be 5 chromatic notes. Right? So we're on A, and we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to D. Okay? It's a fourth. So between those two is also a fourth. Between D and G, let's figure it out. We've got D here, and we've got G here. Right? So if we go up 5 chromatic notes, we should land on G. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Simple. So that's a fourth too. Now, between the G and B string, we've got something a bit different. We've got a major third. Big M for major. The major third is only a 4 fret difference. Or 4 semitones. It's the same thing. So if we're going from G to B, we should find that it's only 4 notes away. Here's G, and here's B. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? It's a major third. So between these two strings is our major third. And then we've got a B and we've got an E. So a B is here. And an E is up here. This should also be a fourth, which is going to be 5 semitones, right? So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Perfect. Bam. So we have a fourth interval between every string apart from the G and B strings, which is a major third. We're going to need to remember this rule for the next part. Alright, so I made this sheet. We're going to show what's going on with this major scale. So when we play our scale all on one string, it's quite a way away. You're not going to be able to do this very fast, right? It's not very efficient. I find the most efficient way is to do 3 notes on every string before we move on to the next. So if we look at this major scale that we played earlier, we're going to start on the open string. I'm just going to tab all this out on one string, right? So we did the open string, we did 2nd fret, 4th fret, 5th, 7, 9, 11, and 12. So what I tried to do is to make sure we have only 3 notes on every string. So we're going to have to split this up. So I'm going to leave these first 3 notes here and move the next 3 notes onto the next string. And this is how we're going to do it. What we said was that there's a 5 fret difference between every string, which means if we play the 5th fret on the E string, that should be the same as the open A string because they're 5 frets away. So I can do that. I can write a 0 here because they're going to be the same note. Okay? This 7, we're going to move 5 frets to the left, and it's going to be the 2nd fret on the A string. Same goes with 9. It's going to come 5 frets over. So 5, 7, 9 on the E string is going to sound exactly the same as the open string, 2nd fret, and 4th fret of the A string. So these 2 notes are going to go up 2 strings. So they're going to go across 10 frets. Because when I was at school, 2 5s were 10. So this is going to be a 1. And this is going to be a 2. Right? So if we were to take those notes out, this should be our major scale. Open 2, 4, open 2, 4, 1, 2. So if we play those notes, we should find a major scale using 3 notes per string. Alright, there's only 2 notes over here, but we could put another one on the end if we wanted to. We just haven't done it. But what we've aimed for is to have no more than 3 notes on every string. So if I play those notes, we should get a major scale. Listen to this. Open, 2, 4. Open A, 2, 4. First fret, second fret. In reverse, we're going to start from here and go to the left. So we've got 2, 1, 4, 2, open, 4, 2, open. Right? Much easier than trying to do the whole scale on one string. And what's awesome about guitar is we're going to find a lot of symmetrical shapes along the way, which makes things very easy for us. It's like if we wanted to change key up a half step, all we'd need to do is take everything that we've just played and go up 1 fret. The shape is exactly the same. But if we play a C major scale on the piano and we want to go up a half step, every note is sharp now. So that's sort of an advantage to us. I'm going to map this out on here, and we're going to call this the open string. So I've got the open string here. Then we had 2nd fret, 4th fret, open string, 2, 4, a 1, and a 2. What's great about this is we can just copy and paste it here, and it's going to work exactly the same. However, we need to remember this rule. So whenever we travel from the G to the B string, we're going to go to the right 1 fret. And the same applies in the other direction. If we go from the B string to the G string, we're going to go to the left 1 fret. So check this out. So I've circled the root notes. This is where we started. This is the octave of this note, right? This is the whole scale. So what we can do now is just copy and paste the same thing onto the next octave. And it's going to work well if we slide this note to this note. So we're going to slide our first finger from 1 to 2. And then we're just going to play the same thing again up here. So watch us go. We're going to do a whole step to 4. A whole step to 6. Then we're going to put a 2 here. Got a whole step to 4. And a whole step to 6. So right now we've got this and this copied and pasted here and here. But we need to worry about this note. I should have written these on earlier. So because we're going to travel over this line, we need to add a fret. So the 7th note in this scale should be here, but we need to add another fret. We're going to put it here instead. And then lastly, we can slide up again if we wanted to, just to finish it off. So we're going to try and play all of these in order from left to right, bottom to top. And it should go like this. Left to right, bottom to top. Open string first. 2nd fret, 4th fret. Open string. 2nd fret, 4th fret. 1st fret and slide. So now we're here. We're going to do the same thing again. It's the same shape. But these 2 notes are a fret that way because we crossed this line. So if we start here, we're going to go 2, 4, 6, 2, 4, 6, 4, 5. So slides included, we're going to sound like this. Simple. And in reverse, it's the same thing. We can slide down. 6, 4, 2, 6, 4, 2. Slide down. 4, 2, open, 4, 2, open. So this here is 1 octave of the major scale. And all we did was copy and paste to here. But it's not quite the same shape because we crossed over the line between the G and the B string, which means those 2 notes had to come up 1 fret. Let's do this again. So with the minor scale, all the same rules apply, but it's just a minor scale instead of a major scale. Let's start 2nd fret. We haven't done that one. So if we start on the 2nd fret of the low E string, right there, we're going to start here because we're playing a minor scale, right? Major is 1 to 1. Minor is 6 to 6. Okay, we're going to go 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we're going to start on the 2nd fret, F sharp. So the first interval is a whole step. So we're going to go from 2 to 4. The next interval is a half step, so we're going to go from 4 to 5. We're at 1, we've got another whole step to go. So another whole step, a half step now, whole step, and a whole step. Okay, 2 and 12 is 14, which looks good. So we're going to do the same thing, but instead of playing it on one string, we're going to do 3 notes per. These 3 notes are going to stay where they are, and we're going to move these 3 notes up a string and 5 frets that away. 2, 4, 5. We're going to move these 2 notes up 2 strings, 10 frets. It's going to be 2 and 4. So we can forget about these notes. That's what we've got. 2, 4, 5, 2, 4, 5, 2, 4. Lovely shape. So we're going to put the first note on the left. I'm going to go from there. So we're going to have 2nd fret to 4th fret to 5th fret. 2, 4, 5 again on the next string. And 2, 4 on the next string. And we're going to slide from here to here. So this is how your minor scale is going to look, 3 notes per string. So we're going to give this a go and it's going to sound like this. In reverse. So you don't got to do this slide. It's just going to make things a bit easier when we go to the next octave. And we're going to do the same thing again. And we're going to copy and paste this shape and put it here. So on this first string here, we had a whole step and a half step. And we're going to do the same thing right here. So we've got a whole step to 6. Whole step to 6. And a half step to 7. Next string over, it was the same fret and we've got a whole step and a half step. So a whole step to 6 and a half step to 7. So we've got 3 notes in a row here. We've got a root note in the circle, a note above that, and a note above that. So the same should apply over here. So we've got a note in the circle, we've got a note above that, and we should have a note above that, but we've crossed this line. So when we cross this line, things go up 1 fret. So instead of going to 4, we're going to go to 5 instead. Up a whole step. Right? So it's almost the same shape. So we've got whole step, half step, whole step, half step. We've got a whole step between these 2. So we take this and we put it here. So it's almost the same thing, but we're going to go from 5 to 7 instead of 4 to 6 because we've got to watch out for this rule. So now we can play this. It's going to sound amazing. Check this out. Here we go. We've got 2nd fret, 4, 5, 2, 4, 5, 2, 4. Right, that's the first octave right there. And we're going to do the same thing over here, but we're going to make sure that we go up a fret when we cross this line. So we're going to have just like that. So at some speed, it's going to sound really cool. So that's a great advantage that we have on the guitar, is that we can copy and paste shapes anywhere we like, but we need to follow this rule all the time. I hope this was informative. Let's recap. There's 12 chromatic notes now at octave. We looked at whole steps and half steps. A whole step is 2 semitones or 2 frets. A half step is 1 semitone or 1 fret, singular. We can construct a major scale using this formula. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. We can make a minor scale using this formula, starting on 6. Whole, half, whole, whole, half, whole, whole. We looked at some examples on how to make a major or minor scale on 1 string. We talked about guitar tuning. The guitar is tuned in fourths mainly, but there's a major third between the G and B string. Do not forget. A fourth is 5 frets. A major third is 4 frets. We wrote down all the notes on 1 string and then made it so there's only 3 notes on every string by moving them across 5 frets. If you ever cross that point between the G and B string, it's going to be 4 frets. Don't forget major third. And we've just looked at how to make a major scale over 2 octaves. I should probably have circled that bad boy too. There your root notes. We did the same thing for a minor scale. It's the same thing, same process. Put all your notes on 1 string, convert to 3 notes per string. And all we did was a copy and paste from 1 octave to the next. So that's it. I hope that some questions were answered. I'm sure there's a million more. Ooh. And we're going to dig a bit deeper into the major scale at a later date. Tatty bye.